Hello and welcome to The Hero Spouse. I'm Kendra Ruth, here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today we have an anonymous female left behind and forward-moving spouse. Her bomb drop is July of 2018 and her date of marriage is 2002. She has a boomerang who is a low-energy wallower. She says, for a little more than a year, my ex-husband has been reading a lot of self-care and self-help books about complex parent-child relationships. Last week, he even told me that for the past few months he's been he's been seeing a therapist who helps him with the issues of his past. He was raised by a narcissistic mother, and the divorce of his parents when he was 18 was very traumatic because of the emotional manipulation. At that time, his mom told him that if he were to contact his dad, she would commit suicide. That is emotional blackmail. Okay. And I'm so sorry he went through that. So he lost contact with his dad for over 10 years. Bomb drop was a year after his father's death. I think it's a good sign that he's now working on himself, and I told him that it's very brave. Good for you. Very important. What phase is he now in? How do you see this evolve? He's still in an emotional affair with a woman who used to be my best friend until she fell in love with him a few years before bomb drop. But they don't have a real relationship that's out in the open. He took yoga classes with her, but my daughter told me yesterday that he no longer takes yoga classes now. I can't say for sure what he's in, but it has been 4 years. He could very well be at liminality. He could very well be moving through liminality. He's seeing a therapist, and for the past year. This could have been going on for the past year since he's been working on reading those self-care books and self-help books. So he is really trying to figure himself out, and that is awesome and amazing, especially say for a little more than a year he's been doing it. So he didn't just pick up a book and then wasn't ready for it. He stuck with them for a year. And for a few months, he started seeing a therapist. So not only did the books help him, but he moved a step beyond them, or at least added a resource to them. Evolving. How do I see it moving forward and progressing? Well, he's a low-energy wallower, according to you. And the affair has been emotional. So when I talk about emotional affairs, that means a non-physical affair. I also have emotionally bonded affair. That means a limerent affair. I didn't use the term limerence in the beginning. So it's a little confusing if emotional or emotionally is both part of those. So you say they don't have a real relationship that's out in the open. What is their relationship? Or is it always only emotional and not physical? Taking yoga classes with her. I love that he took yoga classes with her. But of course, I'd rather he just took yoga classes and she weren't there. So right now it is a step that he's not taking the yoga classes. It'd be awesome if on his own he found other yoga classes, because that's part of working on yourself. It's meditative. And you know what? That could have got him. Those yoga classes, even though they were with her, could have gotten him into meditation enough, and the time in there and what it was doing with his body and mentally could have brought him to a deeper place where he was more prepared to start looking at those self-care and self-help books and then therapy. So my guess is liminality. That is always a difficult one, because what I have felt in many situations is we recognize liminality in hindsight. We get through it and like, well, we had replay, and there was all this other stuff, but where was liminality? And sometimes they get it in pieces even. Yours has probably been going through it, but I can't say for sure ever. And what the other thing that happens, low energy wallowers can be a little different. So this is just a generalization, that as they progress through, they get to a point in the liminality, rebirth, reintegration where they start to return or re-experience those previous phases or previous stages. And I don't think of it as going backwards. I think of it as there's a mini escape and avoid in the reintegration stage and a mini liminality in the reintegration stage. The train is still moving forward. But what that means is you might see what appears to be, oh no, we're back to where we were 2 years ago. I thought we were through this. And you think that they've regressed, and it's still progress. They're still figuring things out. So I call rebirth a bridge. You have liminality, and then you have the rebirth bridge, and they get into reintegration. And that's where they're trying to reintegrate this new person who they are into society. Well, first thing, that's scary. Think about the crab who's just molted, and now they have to grow their shell, so they go into liminality for a while. Now they come out with their new shell. Uh-oh, this new shell didn't grow well. I better go back out and make some adjustments. There's a crack in it. So they go out into society, and they're not ready for it. Things aren't well. They want to change this about themselves. So they cross over the reintegration or the rebirth bridge back to liminality, make some changes, and then go back. And they could do this over and over again. So you will see these back and forths. And so you might see escape and avoid behavior, or you might not. But I want you to prepare for those sort of things. That's how it evolves. And that's just the fears of stepping out into society again. It's a slow process of learning who you are now and what that means, and how other people are going to experience this new you. Or those people don't know that it's a new you because you haven't seen them for 3 years, and you're a completely different person, but they approach you with the expectations of the other person. What do you do now? It can be scary. Just like how, imagine that you were in a terrible accident, a disfiguring accident where you were either severely burned or maybe you lost a limb, and you go back out into the world. People don't know how to approach you, and you don't know how to approach them. You're nervous, you're scared. Or you were in a cult, one of those where you had to behave differently, and now you're extracted. And let's say you're deprogrammed and you want to go out into society, but you don't know, you no longer know how to be in that world. You've been trained in this other world, and it might be very strict, and you have certain rules, and you don't have those rules. You don't know how to be. So this reintegration is learning how to be again. And it takes a bit back and forth. So I want you to be prepared for that sort of thing. But keep doing that, telling Miss Grave and how wonderful and proud you are of him. Because that's what he needs. He needs to have somebody who's believing in him, even when the stuff is scary. Okay? You're doing a great job so far. So I hope this is helpful. I'll see everybody in the next question.